What's up, guys? So today I want to go over the top 10 plus things that Diablo needs to fix as soon as possible to keep retention rate high. So starting right off, let's go over some easy ones that I think can definitely realistically see a change. I want to be able to search for my items. We already have it in basically most action RPGs. I want to be able to type in something in my stash tab and be able to find that exact key target word. And the thing is there's so many things, even in Immortal, that Diablo 4 desperately needs. And the first one, this more than likely will eventually come. I don't think it's going to be like out of the question. The next thing is, I want the mini-map overlay. Diablo 1, 2, and 3 all have a mini-map overlay where we can just kind of have a map over us, so we don't have to sit there, run around, pause, open up a giant screen, and then maybe get off screen by someone attacking us. I think that would be a huge quality of life change. The next thing I kind of wanted to talk about, which is something I've seen a lot in the community, which came down to uniques. And the reason why I wanted to kind of highlight this is because a lot of people think, for whatever reason, uniques are like the best items in the game. They are technically the rarest items in the game, but that doesn't always mean that they're good. But there are so many uniques for a lot of the classes that are just not worth running at all. So I think we could have maybe a buff to how the uniques actually work. I think that'd be overall kind of a nice thing. It's just a very common thing. I was actually browsing a lot of these things mentioned over on Reddit as well as other Diablo forums. Basically, a lot of people are kind of upset about their class having a bunch of garbage uniques is what they were saying. And I think this would be an excellent change because we can't even re-roll the stats on the unique. It's just like it's there. If you get one that rolls bad, well, too bad. And you know, it'd be cool to at least get something out of it. Maybe if you salvage it, you get some special material to re-roll another stat on, let's say, even a legendary item, making the uniques somehow be worthwhile, right? The next thing I want to talk about, and we actually have a good update to this one, which is the making the renown permanent. This is a very consistent thing I've seen where people would actually talk about making the renown permanent, so you didn't have to redo it in the next season, because making the new season, everyone's gonna have to redo everything. Now, this was an update that was actually tweeted out like literally super fresh as I'm recording this video, talking about the renown system that they're gonna be doing later this week. They are gonna be talking about renown. This player's like, I'm brand new to Diablo, but I hear at the new start of a season, it's basically resetting everything, which is true. You basically start from level 1. And then they're like major red flags people complain about. Because remember, there's so many people that have never played Diablo before, but that's the point of a new season, is to start fresh. But people don't want to do the renown. And I totally get that. And I think that no one should have to recollect all of the altars, do all the things for the Paragon points. It's just a really long grind. And I think that makes the game a little bit less fun. So anyways, this is something that says tune into this week's stream. So I'm guessing this is something positive on that side of a thing. So at least they'll be talking about it. Now, this is a major concern just in the game in general, where they've been just nerfing time and time again. And then they randomly buff things by like such a small percent. Like who's playing Rogue and it's running caltrops? I tried it, but like realistically, they're just nerfing so many things in the game. We're talking dungeons, we're talking different like abilities in the game. They're constantly just nerfing things. And I think instead of nerfing, buff the things that are underperforming, so you raise them up so everyone is kind of not necessarily on 100% equal grounds, but that way you don't make people upset, because people invest a lot of time into these builds and then it's just like, well, too bad that thing's gone. We just the legendary power, we just completely changed it. That unique item, well, it doesn't work anymore. There's so many things that they've been just nerfing. Now, I understand if it's game breaking, sure, go ahead and nerf it, but there's just so many nerfs, and this is a big thing. The XP in this game is just terrible once you start hitting higher levels. Like this is gameplay, we're level 80. It feels so incredibly slow to get any sort of progression in some of these dungeons. I'm running one of the more meta dungeons over here, but nonetheless, it's just constantly all I'm seeing that's uploaded. Can we stop nerfing? Stop nerfing. And then like I really feel like this needs to be highlighted again. That's why I showed it off multiple times. And the side quests in this game, they really do need to be a lot more rewarding than the current results right now. It's like you do this quest, you save their life, and here's one veiled crystal. It's nothing. Like it's absolutely nothing. And then on top of that, this is kind of going back to the same point. It's like it takes way too long to level. Like you got to be unemployed is the joke here to reach level 100. And like I'm playing the game pretty consistently, and like this, well, we're higher than level 80 because I've been playing other characters as well. But the thing is that this game takes so incredibly long, and you can see like how once you start hitting like past level 60, man, it's like 10 hours. Like for like any progress in terms of getting a couple levels, it takes so dang long. This one I think is more realistic as well to get. This one's just asking for a gem pouch. I think that could be something that they could add into the game. It's very annoying though. You have like so many gems, and when you're playing the game, you could still get like the bad gems just dropping randomly in the world. So like, why am I on world tier 4 getting like these trash gems that just clog up my inventory? And you know, sometimes, especially if you're playing controller, you have like kind of like the automatically pick up, because unless you don't want to run that and you run your buy rewind on pickup to something else, then you lose out on basically a button. So it's very difficult, especially again on controllers, to kind of pick up exactly what you want, but I understand it's just a controller thing. I kind of play hybrid anyways. The next thing I want to talk about once it decides to load in, okay, is to have some sort of timers, okay? Timers for the world boss, these Hell Tide, we need some sort of timer and then like an LFG system. Basically, everyone uses like different third-party websites, and I don't think you should need third-party websites. Speaking of things that, you know, third-party websites also have, is a party finder. How come Diablo Immortal, the mobile game that came out way long ago, compared to where this is like the main flagship game, why are we missing like just an LFG finder? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to not have this. If you want to do like a dungeon, Diablo Immortal does this way better. And another thing that I think really needs to be highlighted is an excellent video by Comparing. It's talking about resistance being absolutely useless, and yeah, so that means armor is significantly better. More than likely what's going to happen is they're going to nerf armor. I don't think they're going to buff this, because they're all about the nerfs right now, and I just think that's the wrong direction. I want this game to go in the positive direction. I think most people will agree when you nerf things, it makes people upset, especially in a PvE only game. Remember, I mean, it does have PvP, but for the most part, if you just focus in on too much nerfs, you're just going to make people upset and not want to continue playing. And then on top of that, this is a big feature. When you're trying to change a weapon, like a mod on the enchant, why is there no option to see all of the lists? Again, this is a Diablo 3 feature that you can see all of the different rolls, but like on this one, it's like, well, you can get all basic skill damage. Like, what's the difference in the options here? You should not be able to roll the same thing on the enchant, but also I want to see all of the results. Again, this is like a sequel to Diablo 3. I want at least the same features that Diablo 3 has in terms of quality of life, right? Again, I can go to a third-party website, but you know, most people don't go to third-party websites to look up information that are just brand new to the game, especially if you're playing on console, right? Another thing, the dungeons still have the system where, like, this is one of the best dungeons in the game, by the way, and you still have the system where you are going and you are doing some objective, then you walk all the way back. You have these very long stretches of paths. This picture demonstrates it perfectly. You gotta get this stone, go back, go get this stone, and then go back. Why not just have the paths connected so you can just... Also, one thing that's major, and this is something that I've been talking about since the like earlier access copies of the game that went out. How come on these dungeons I have to go ahead and grab the stone, but then I get to another stone and I can't just grab the other stone? I can't hold two stones. Like, I just want to hold all of the stones. That makes no sense. In terms of playing for solo play, it makes it so much less efficient. They need to make solo play a lot more viable. Because of the way the LFG system works and you can't just go in a dungeon. I even think it'd be cool if you just had an option that you can just turn on in the options menu, or when you go into a dungeon, you could say like party with people, and it would just automatically party you up with people that are doing the same dungeon that enter within the next like 5 seconds or something, or who's ever waiting at the dungeon door, just like in Diablo Immortal. I don't know why that doesn't exist, but it just makes party and group play just so much better to the point where, like, if you're playing solo, good luck hitting level 100. It just is going to take you way too long. Another thing I want to talk about, now this is going to be something that I'm guessing will be changed in the upcoming seasons as well as DLC, but like all of the things, like look at this glyph, right? Like you have all these glyphs. What's this first one do? Okay, so we get additional bonus, we get increased damage with one-handed weapons. All right, next one, what do we get? We get 5% extra crit strike damage against bleeding enemies. Okay, what's the other one? Brawling skills get 18% increased damage. What's this next one? While wielding an axe, you do. They're all just numerical stats. Like, I want interesting things. I want things where, like, let's say for the barbarian, maybe you could only hold 2 weapons, but now you do way more damage. All right, I want things that actually change up your character's build. Maybe with barbarian, maybe you can't wear like a chest piece. Your chest piece is removed with this special glyph, and now you can equip like a sorceress staff, and then now you can use one sorceress abilities. I know I'm talking about really complex stuff that maybe is way far beyond, because that makes the, you know, animations and all things more complicated. What I'm saying is, in terms of the glyphs, I want to see a little bit more complexity than just, oh, you do increased damage versus burning targets, or chilled targets, or targets that are frozen, or targets that are bleeding, poison. They're all just numbers, and all the numbers almost add up to the exact same if you go across the board, because I was making a video for, of course, the best glyphs in the game. I'm like, dude, all these add up to, like, it's like a lot of them are like 9.6. Like, they all have that very specific number of the same numerical stat, making it a little bit less interesting for diversity, right? Another thing is, in terms of like the nightmare dungeons, obviously, okay, this one's talking about the pathing being bad. Like, with this, like, if you see more miles, you can literally go right here, and then you can just go straight to the dungeon. The map on here, like, makes you go on, like, what is this little, like, thing that goes up? You could literally go straight. The map pathing crafting is probably just done by like AI and sometimes whatever. It just doesn't work out. I'm not really complaining about that, but when I open up a nightmare dungeon from my inventory in town, I don't want to have to go TP to another location, then walk 3 hours to find the dungeon. Like, just make it so when I open up the nightmares dungeon, like the sigil, I just get to click on a portal and it goes right in front of the dungeon, or it just goes into the dungeon. As soon as I right click, it just teleports me in. It's just so not efficient. Like, you could play the game for a very short amount of time and realize, hold on, okay, like, why am I doing this? I understand they want to see us look at the big open world, but when you're paying for 100 hours, you've probably seen the open world already. You don't need to traverse it. Another thing is these whispering chests. I feel like these need a buff. I mean, I've been talking about it and I've been asking people like, yo, anyone get like any crazy items out of these? I'm not asking for like 10 shakos to drop off of one, okay? I'm just looking for just something if I open up these chests to be somewhat relevant in the game. Maybe it can drop a certain currency to have a free reroll. Instead of spending like, you know, millions of gold to reroll, you could just reroll your item with one reroll like at power. Like, it's just something to actually make these desirable. In fact, the whole open world in general, it feels a little bit lackluster compared to just doing dungeons in the game. And like, they made this giant world. Another thing I want to talk about is I feel like the crafting in this game is literally D3 enchant, but like you can't even see the results. I would like to see more crafting. Again, this is probably something maybe for next seasons. They may not want to make the game super complex. And this is a design decision, which, you know, obviously it makes it less complex for newer players, but it can maybe be introduced later. But like, I want to see some Kanai's Cube. I want some big brain stuff. But this is something that again, we'll probably get into some DLC. But this stash tab, man, I am running out of room so fast. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have been running out of stash space as well. But the thing is that there is hope with this because World Tier 5 was discovered and there are stash tabs as reward. And I just dropped a video that shows off some of the leaks. Basically, there's newer gems. There's a few other things. Recommend you guys to check out that video, which I'll also have pinned down below, which talks about World Tier 5, which may solve some of these issues that we're talking about, because World Tier 5 would obviously be more XP, and maybe we can actually start farming for that Shako a little bit more effectively, because as far as we are aware of, at the time of this video, okay, there is only one person in the entire world that has gotten Shako. Is that too rare? I don't know. Sometimes people feel like they want items to be super rare, but at the end of the day, you know, when it's too rare, sometimes people just give up hope for getting that item. But that's my thoughts. You guys can let me know yours down below. But if you guys enjoyed the video, and is there anything else that you really want to see changed, or things that need to be fixed ASAP? We're talking quality of life or just more complexity, because I really feel like most players will never reach level 100. Most average players will probably hit like 50 to maybe even 70 at the higher end, and then they'll just kind of burn out. Maybe they'll make a new character. But speaking of new characters, it needs to be a lot more friendly for making new characters. You have to since the glyphs are different. I think you should all share all the glyphs. You should be able to transfer your items. Maybe you can just equip things once you have hit maybe a certain level. You can just equip stuff for an alt. It's just not very friendly for making another alt. You have to go through so much all over in the game just to get you know, your progression. Whereas if I'm playing Diablo 3, I can hit up a buddy, call him up and be like, yo, hey, give me a power level, and in 10 minutes I'm max level and I can start my process. I'm talking for alts, not like a brand new character. I'm talking about like, if I've already grinded out all of the renown or whatever, it should be a lot more friendly for making other characters, because I think that is a lot more fun than just grinding to get a few percents when you're like level 80 to get any sort of progression in terms of like upgrades. But that's gonna wrap things up. If you enjoyed it, drop a like. If you're new, subscribe, turn the bell if you'd like to see more, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.